Welcome, everyone, to Beyond Surviving, the safe space for survivors of childhood sexual abuse to receive support, resources, and share their stories. Beyond Surviving is about freedom, healing, connection, and even laughter and fun. Most importantly, it's about letting go of the pain of abuse and finally moving on. I'm Rachel Grant, and for those of you who don't yet know me, I've been a sexual abuse recovery coach since 2007 and am the author of Beyond Surviving, the Final Stage of Recovery from Sexual Abuse. You can learn more about me and the Beyond Surviving program at rachelgrantcoaching.com. Now, one of the things that is bringing me a lot of joy these days is, more and more people reaching out and say, "Hey, I found your podcast, or I learned about you, and I think I have something that I'd like to offer the community." And my guest today, Steve Silar, is exactly one of those people. And he and I got to talking, and he has this amazing background in music, and he's really going to be here today talking with us about how his love of music became a gateway for supporting others in healing. And it became such a thing for him that he went on to become the founder and director of Music for the Soul, which is a faith based organization that creatively uses the power of songs and stories as a bridge to hope and healing for those facing life's most difficult issues. He is an accomplished award winning songwriter and music producer. Siler has had over 500 of his songs recorded in the Christian pop and country markets. So, hey, celebrity, we got a celebrity in the house. And Steve, I am so, so glad to have you here with us. Thank you for
I
coming.
I did not expect to be called a celebrity. Thank you very much.
You're
I'll
very
try to live
welcome.
up to that intro.
That's awesome. Well, so, one of the things when I was developing the Beyond Surviving program that happened very organically for me was weaving in music.
Mhm.
So, before every session, we listen to a song in the group program. And within the emails that I send out, there's always a little bonus, which is a song. And,
Right.
music has played such an important role in my, honestly, keeping my shit together, right? And making it through this
Right.
journey. And so
Mhm.
I'm really excited to explore this topic with you, particularly through the lens of somebody who's creating music
Mhm.
for this purpose. So can you tell us a little bit how you got into all of this? How did this become your life?
Wow. Well, I started out wanting to be like the second coming of Peter Frampton
Okay.
and wound up in a really different place.
Mm,
Basically, I had been pursuing a staff songwriting career, wanting to be a staff writer for many years. And I had my first hit song on the radio. This was when I was living in Los Angeles.
okay.
And the minute I heard the song on the radio, I was like, this isn't it. I didn't
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
feel what I expected to feel. Because what I
Interesting.
realized in that moment was that I was just kind of aping the culture and giving people what I thought they would buy.
Okay.
And there wasn't really anything of me in it. I wasn't invested in it on an emotional level. I didn't know that until I heard the song on the radio. So late one night, I went into our church, which was open 24 hours a day,
Mm.
and just basically sat there and said, God, I feel like you gave me this gift of music. What am I supposed to be doing with it? Because I'm pretty sure this isn't it.
Mm.
And I got a call less than 2 weeks later from a total stranger. He had happened to visit our church on a Sunday when I played I'd written three faith-based songs up to that point, and he had happened to visit on a day I played one. And he called me up and he said, "Hi, I'm starring in Les Miserables at the Schubert Theater. I've licensed this book
Mm.
on childhood sexual abuse. I'm going to do a stage play on it. I want it to be a musical, and I think you're the guy who's supposed to write the songs."
Man.
Right.
Divine
So
appointment.
right. So I look at the phone and kind of look up the scene like, wow, that's really
What just
specific.
happened?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So I met with him, of course, because I thought, okay. And he put this book on the table, and I looked at it. Was actually a pastel drawing of a child's face,
Mm.
this far away expression in her eyes. And I looked at that child's face and I said, I don't know why you think I'm the guy, but if you're going to offer me this opportunity, I would like to try and do it for
Mhm.
you. So
Mhm.
I went home and read that book. It was a children's book. It didn't take very long to read it. But after I read it, I felt like this is something deeply, deeply important.
Mhm.
And it was the first time I ever got down on my knees and prayed next to the piano before I began to work. Never done
Yeah.
that before.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I wrote 4 songs, each one very well supported by the content of the book because I wasn't a therapist.
Mm,
I didn't have
right.
any knowledge of the issue at that point. I didn't yet know that this was part of my own mom's story. Wasn't surprised to find that out later once I heard about the numbers of survivors that there are.
Right.
And so but I wrote those 4 songs. I took them to a therapist that I
Mm.
happen to know who lived about 100 yards from our house, or her office was about 100 yards from our house. I took the songs in and I said, I don't know what I've done here.
Oh
And
no, right.
I don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Would you please listen to these and tell me if I'm on the right track, if I've got anything? That
Mm.
was a Friday. And she called me on Monday morning and she said, Steve, I hope you won't be angry with me. I used your songs with clients over the weekend.
Wow.
I was like,
Yeah.
"You did?"
And how'd that go?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Right.
And I had
Yeah.
never, ever even known to think that that was something you could do with music,
Right. Right.
you know?
Oh, I love that. So she really expanded your idea of even how music could be applied or used.
Right, right.
Okay.
She set me unwittingly probably set me on the path that was my life's calling and is my life's work.
Wow. That's
So,
amazing.
it
I
was.
love stories like that so very much because it is
Yeah,
like, like this little moment leads to that little moment leads to this, and
right.
then bam, here we
Yeah,
are in
yeah.
our passion and our purpose and
Yes,
thriving.
yes.
It's such an amazing thing that that you're an ally, you're an advocate, not a survivor yourself of, at least of particularly sexual trauma. We all have stuff in our life, of course. uh,
Absolutely.
but certainly, finding out later, how much longer after you started doing this work did your mom share with you that she had experienced sexual
Not not long, not long.
trauma?
It came about I would say, within a year or less, because
Yeah.
that once we started production on the play, it basically consumed my life. I mean, it was all I
Mm,
was doing for 3 years
mm-hmm.
because
Okay.
we did this play. We were invited into the LA public schools with this play. We
Yeah.
did theater runs, we did colleges, we did churches. It was just, it was for 3 years. It was all we did. So
Mm.
as soon as it started to head in that direction, naturally, there was a lot of conversation with my mom about what we were working on. So it came out very organically as part of that discussion.
Yeah. And I'm so curious, just if, because you mentioned that when this all started, you hadn't really spent a lot of, time in the world of advocacy or thinking about this topic or learning about it, and that this project really entered you into the world of survivorship and all
Mhm.
of the things that people who've experienced trauma feel and go through.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious about how, when you arrived at that conversation with your mom,
Mhm.
like, what role did that end up playing in how you were able to maybe show up for her or hear what she had to say? Do you think that that had an impact?
It was interesting because as the child in the relationship, there's one dynamic.
Yeah.
And as soon as somebody becomes vulnerable with you in that sort of way, it kind of like it flips, and
Mhm.
suddenly you feel, if not parental, certainly protective,
Yeah.
and like you've been trusted with something,
Yeah.
which calls you to a higher level of responsibility and care for that person and trust.
Mm.
Just so, and that was just the beginning because once people found out I was doing this work, I mean, I'd heard the statistic like 1 in 3, that kind of thing in terms of the numbers of folks. And as soon as I started to actually do the work and be out there, I was stunned at how many people that I cared about who were friends. This was part of their story. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And so this started to, from getting that feedback and these conversations, it all kind of took on a life of its own, it sounds like. And you felt called to start your Music for the Full Soul, sorry, Music for the Fool, no, Music for the Soul Foundation. And tell us a little bit more about that and what it's all about and what people can expect when they come and learn more about what you're doing there.
Okay, first I have to tell you that the gap between when I did what was then called the I Can't Talk About It project and the founding of Music for the Soul was actually about a decade.
Really?
Gap.
Okay.
There was a big gap
Yeah.
in there.
It's a
Um,
journey.
yeah, it was quite a journey because I moved to Nashville. My wife and I moved to Nashville, and I got signed to a songwriting staff deal, and immediately got pulled into that world, writing for
Mm,
recording artists. And it felt kind of like parallel to what I wanted to do, maybe a little, but certainly not spot on.
got
And
it.
so I was kind of frustrated, even though I was having a lot of success. I had an unreasonable amount of success in a very short period of time. It was clearly the path I was supposed to be on, and I realized later that was the learning curve. It was also the
Mm-hmm.
acquisition of great co-writers and great
Right.
musicians and great
Collaborators,
engineers,
connections.
putting the
Yes.
team together, right? And getting the credits, because once you're a double award-winning writer and you got all these songs recorded, now people take your calls when, I wish it
Oh, it's
wasn't
Steve.
like
Yeah, we
that.
gotta talk to Steve.
Rachel, I wish it wasn't like that. It is. So
Yeah, I
anyway,
feel you.
but but basically, what this burning in my soul just kept gnawing at me that I wanted to
Mm,
go back to the work we'd done with the I
mm.
Can't Talk About It project and treat a lot of different issues that way. Because as the more I learned, I thought, trauma, like you mentioned earlier, it doesn't discriminate. Everybody gets some of it, and there are
Yeah.
so many different issues. So the lady who had written the book that our play was based upon had written 27 books called the Hurts of Childhood series.
Hmm.
And I looked at that and I said, why isn't there a music line that has
Mhm.
recordings for eating disorders, recordings for pornography addiction, recordings for suicide grief, and so on? I
Right.
thought, why isn't anybody doing that? And then, of course, the answer to that question is, well, Steve, maybe I want you to do it.
You're
And
the one. I guess that's
so,
gonna be you, right?
really, me, okay. So I really wanted to do it, and I was going to make the leap in 1998. And my wife said, "You're not quite ready." She goes, "Sign
Mm.
one more publishing deal." She said, "You'll be ready at the end of the next deal." And she was exactly right. And so in 2001, that's when I formed Music for the Soul. And
Okay.
I think your question was, what do we do? You kind of you
Yeah.
introduced it really well. But what we do is we use songs to help people find breakthrough, healing, hope around the things that are almost impossible to talk about. I like to say we
Mhm.
express the inexpressible because songs have a way of cutting straight through, going right to the heart. There's
Yeah,
actually
they
brain
sure
science
do.
on this. The
Yeah.
brain, we process language primarily in the left hemisphere of the brain. And we
Yes.
process melody over here in the right hemisphere of the brain. Well, guess where trauma resides?
Yeah.
Right hemisphere. So when I talk to you, I'm not going to the heart of the matter. But when I
Mm.
sing to you, I've got the
Mhm.
lyric in the lyric part of it is the language piece. So I got the left part,
Yes.
and then I've got the melody piece, and now I got the right part. So I like to think of it as kind of an all skate. Now the whole brain is engaged.
Mhm.
And so,
I love that old skate. You threw it back to skating. I love
yeah,
that.
come on. That,
For
that
those
was
young people
my
listening, he's talking about roller skating. Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm right there with you, man.
so,
That's beautiful, right? Yeah, it awakens, it enlivens, it helps us connect emotionally to things, parts of ourselves that might be really shut down, or
yes.
parts of ourselves that we're afraid to express. I remember, particularly in my teen years, man, it was 9 inch nails like every day, just angry,
Mhm.
upset, music, because I didn't know how to express
Right.
that feeling. But
Right.
this music,
Said it for
helped me
you.
tap into that and feel it in a
Mhm.
way that I couldn't through language.
We hear all the time, one of the most routine comments that we receive is, "You put into words what I couldn't say." You know,
My gosh, I
and
love
then when
that.
you add the music piece, now you're talking about a memory device. So in the case of Innocent Child, when I sing to you that you're an innocent child, I've got a 90% better chance that you're going to remember it than if I just tell you.
Mhm.
In fact, I had a woman, the moment that the seed for Music for the Soul was planted, I had a woman at an incest survivor conference come up to me after I'd sung Innocent Child. And she said, "People have been telling me I was an innocent child my whole life. I never believed it until I heard you sing it today."
Yeah. Ooh,
And
that's so powerful. I love that
I
so
thought, oh, I'm
much.
supposed to do something about
Right. Oh my gosh.
That was
Awesome.
so obvious even I could get it, right?
Exactly, exactly. Oh my goodness. So let's take a quick break and we come back. I want us to listen to one of your songs and talk more about, how we use the music to heal and to connect with each other. Have you ever felt like you've tried everything to heal from the pain of sexual abuse and yet nothing seems to be really helping? Well, one of the reasons why most people struggle to break free from the pain of past child abuse is because the techniques out there are positioned as a one size fits all answer. What I want you to know is that there are actually 3 distinct phases on the path to recovery, and I'd love to share with you about these phases, what issues you must resolve to move to the next phase, and what kinds of support you'll need in order to move forward as quickly and completely as possible. The road to recovery is much easier when you know what stage you're in and what to do next. So don't hesitate. Go to rachelgrantcoaching.com/checklist and get your 9-page guide today. Now back to our show. Awesome. So we left off talking about how one of the listeners of your song was so deeply impacted, and it helped her really connect into the understanding of herself as an innocent in this experience
Yeah,
of trauma.
yeah.
And when you and I first got to talking, you sent me a couple of songs, and one of them that you sent me was No Power Over Me.
Mhm.
Ooh, can you tell us a little nugget of history of like what that song is and how it came to be? And then we'll listen to a little bit of it.
Okay, I was actually asked by a therapist who uses our material quite a bit to write a song. She was getting ready to work with one of the survivors from the Jerry Sandusky events up in Penn State.
Mm,
And she said, "Have you got anything for men?" She goes, "I need something for a male survivor." And so right away, I thought the dynamic of men wanting to feel strong and powerful. Well, something that you're robbed of when you're abused is your power, right? Yeah.
yes, for
So
sure.
I thought, okay, we need to take that and turn it on its head. And so I wrote that song specifically thinking of those men in that I'd heard about.
Mm,
That everybody heard about that story. It was all over the news for a while.
yeah.
But after I finished it, one of the first people that heard it was somebody on our board of directors who was a female survivor. And she said, "Oh, this is perfect. This is for me." And I thought, well, that's interesting because,
Right.
if I'm honest, I really wasn't thinking about female survivors when I wrote this because I was trying so hard to get inside the skin and to try and feel like what would it feel like to be a man and be taken advantage of that way. And
Right.
so that's where that lyric came from. But I was so pleased that women found it meaningful as well.
Yeah, I think that's a real important piece to connect to here, which is that while there are certain distinctions that male survivors, in between male and female survivors, by and large, the experience resonates across gender, across sexual orientation, faith,
Mhm.
religion, race, all of this, that at
Right.
the end of the day, we've had an experience where our autonomy has been violated, our right
Right.
to choose.
Right.
And the very first line of this song, for so long I felt that I was damaged, as if nothing I did was enough.
Mm.
Oh man, if that ever captured, how I felt, how I know so many of my clients feel, let's have a little listens, shall we? Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for those words. I mean, it is so true in the space of like the fear that we all hold on the other side of trauma, that we're now broken, that we're damaged. And how do we reclaim? How do we take back these parts of ourself, you know? So thank you so much for that beautiful gift. And people who would like to hear more of that song, where do they go? How do they find your music?
Musicforthesoul.org is
Mhm.
our website. Everything on our site streams. Some of the stuff is available in physical copies like CD, if anybody still does that. Uh, and
Right on.
they can also download the songs either as albums or individually, but the lyrics are reprinted there, and all the songs do stream. And slowly but surely, we're getting onto all the other streaming services. It's a lot of administration, which is not my favorite end of the pond, so to speak. But
Sure.
we're getting there. But everything is at the site.
I love that. And something you and I talked about when we first met also was, because I tend to lean towards the agnostic, end of the
Yep.
spectrum, is, you're a guy of God and you're down for it. And a lot of your music comes from that place of spirit and God and guidance and universe and these sorts of things. So for people who maybe don't identify as having faith or believing in God, will they find something there too?
I think they will. And the best answer I think I can give you is that my approach to songwriting has always been I won't shoehorn Jesus into a song to make somebody happy or to make them think
Mm,
that our stuff is Christian. I also
mhm.
won't excise him from a song if he belongs there.
Yeah.
And in our catalog, there are many songs where he belongs, and there are many songs where he's certainly informing my worldview.
Sure.
But I've had we got an endorsement from the American Association of Suicidology for our Chaos of the Heart record on grieving a suicide, and that is a secular organization. They
Mm.
actually commented on how artfully the record was produced so that someone who was not a person of faith could get what they needed out of it. So
Oh, I
I would
love
like to think that your listeners who are not people of faith would feel comfortable listening to our catalog.
awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So I really encourage you all listening, pop on over to musicforthesoul.org and check out the music that's there. Now, something else I'm really curious about is this innocent child project that you're working on. What is that? And what are you doing?
Well, the play that started this whole thing,
Hmm.
I have had so many requests through the years to film it. We did the 3 years in Los Angeles of performances. Then we got invited to Mississippi to
Mm.
do it again after the Sandusky thing broke. We got invited to come down there and do a run in Mississippi. And we just had lots of people requesting. It's amazing to me that one person in particular who first attended the play almost 30 years ago. I mean, gosh, it was 1991. Yeah.
Wow.
And recently saying, you've got to do this. This is the best. This changed
Wow.
my life. This was the best thing that ever happened. For survivors need to know about
Mm.
this, need
Mm.
to access the healing that comes through this piece. And so I'm really feeling a burden to get it filmed finally. And so that's what the Innocent Child Project. I changed the name because I can't talk about it. Every time we use that name, people would make a joke. Oh, why not? Ha ha ha. This is not a laughing
Fair
matter,
enough. Yeah, good for
funny
you.
subject. So, and,
Yes.
and and what I do want survivors to take away is that they are innocent, that this
Yeah.
was not their fault. This was done to them. And so I think having the title Be Innocent Child, even if they don't get to see it or hear it, we're still getting an opportunity to plant that message in survivors' hearts,
Mm.
which is what I want to do.
That's so powerful. Yeah, I love that so very much. And what kind of support are you needing around this project right now?
Well, obviously, financial for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's expensive to film something. We have a great film crew. We've won awards with our music videos and our documentaries in the past, so I feel like we have that piece of it pretty well together. Um, we're going to be looking for the right place to stage it, and of course, we're going to have to cast it and it would make sense to cast it where we stage it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently looking at a couple of different locations that could be possible. So I'm really open to that. I don't, since that
Nice.
hasn't been decided yet, I'm open to to God's leading on where it's supposed to take place.
Okay.
Obviously, once it's filmed, it can go around the world, and that would be my heart.
Mm,
Would be that
mm,
people in Australia and people in Europe and people in Asia, and
yes.
ultimately that everybody can see it. And that's why I really want to get it done. It's kind of like, you want to talk about bucket list. For
Right.
for me, this is my big bucket list thing. That
Oh
this,
my gosh, that's amazing. Well, one of my graduates is a costume designer, so if you need costuming, you let me know. I'll get you all connected, okay? But for people who want to support your project, it sounds like they can go to
yes,
musicforthesoul.org/innocent dash child dash project. And is there a
correct.
link there where they can donate and
Yes,
contribute or offer ideas or suggestions or
yes.
resources?
There's a couple of things. There's a link at that page that you just mentioned to a brochure that tells more
Mm,
about the project.
okay.
There's a link to our donate page, and there's a drop down that says Innocent Child, so they can select that. And they can, of course, email me from the website with any other information or ideas they have. So,
Okay.
absolutely open to hearing from anyone who's interested.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm really excited about the idea that we're starting to, generate more films, and that are covering this topic. That are, and just the fact that that can really expand your reach. That you
Mhm.
can get into people's homes on their
Yes,
computers, and
yes,
they can be sitting in the comfort of their home and watching this project. So even if you're not sure if you want to donate, or have resources to offer, be sure to follow so that you can help spread the word and help
yes,
generate,
yes,
interest. That's a great way to support as well, for sure.
yes. One thing I want to mention real quickly about the film too is, since it was based on a children's book and the drawings were so lovely, we're actually going to animate as well. So
Ooh,
when
yes.
the dove flies over the ocean, he'll leap off the window sill, and the person will turn into the dove and fly over the ocean, and we're going to
Yeah.
go from animation to live action and back and forth. So that'll be really
Oh man, that's so fabulous. I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
me either.
Yes, you're right. Like, get it together. It's coming. Well, I absolutely believe that all things happen in their due and perfect
Yeah,
time, and that everything that you need for this project to move forward is going to come into view any day and as needed. And you're doing just such really beautiful, powerful work. I'm curious, outside of the world of the music that you've written for, I'm going to put you on the spot, Steve. Here it comes. Do you have a favorite song?
a favorite song. Oh gosh, that's really, really, really hard.
I'll
Uh,
rephrase also. And or do you have a song that you know that you often go to when you want,
that's
support, encouragement?
that's easier.
Mm.
People will be surprised, since I'm a songwriter and a lyricist as well. When I need a good cry and to just let it all out, I turn out the lights and I put on any one of two or three Randy Newman film scores. Awakenings,
Yeah.
Avalon. That guy can take your heart and just squeeze in such a sweet way.
Oh my gosh.
It hurts so good. Now I'm quoting John Cougar Mellencamp, but still, I
Yes, you
just
are.
I just really love Randy Newman's film score work, and it
Oh
just
my gosh.
transports me. Absolutely transports me.
Well, that's awesome. Now, I won't put you on the spot without putting myself on the spot.
Okay.
So, there are a variety of songs that are coming to mind, but for whatever reason, George Michael is kind of like my go-to because he
Okay.
can take me into, like, one more try. I can get into my sad space and feel
Mhm.
kind of mopey and feel those feelings. And then I can get into my, like, whatever, and just like killing it mode and happy and joy and ain't no mountain high enough. I love his version of that. So he's definitely somebody who I, will turn on when I'm wanting some music. But honestly, like, I wake up, the first thing I do in the morning after meditation is I turn on music and I just
Wow.
let it play, right? Shuffle, shuffle on my phone, and like the soundtrack of our lives,
Yes.
right? The
Yes, it is.
songs that mark the moments of healing. And I remember, like, very distinctly, there's a Tracy Chapman song. Oh, I'm gonna forget the name. Are you kidding me? Welcome to your 40s, Rachel. So, anywho, it was such a song of like self-compassion
Mm,
and done so many things wrong. I don't know if I can do right is one of the lyrics in that song. And I
mm,
remember just sitting with that song in one of my darkest periods and just really feeling into like, this is really what it feels like to be me right now. But
mm,
also there's this space in that song where it's calling us and calling you to like this next self and where do you go from here, and just
mm,
calling in someone to stand with you in that.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that's one of the beautiful things about music too. Like sometimes we can get caught up in our words and we don't know
Mhm,
what to say to someone,
mhm.
but we can send them a good song,
Yep.
you know?
And what I hear you saying is that when you hear that good song, you're not alone.
Yeah.
And I think that's all any of us really want to know, is that we're
Mm.
not alone, is that somebody else understands what we're feeling. Because if
Oh
somebody
man.
else understands, then we're not the only person who ever felt this way.
Yeah.
That's something that's impossible to endure, feeling like you're the only one.
Yeah.
So I think music creates community for us.
I agree. Well, on that powerful, beautiful note, Steve, thank you so much for being here with me today. It's
Um,
been such a joy to get
Thank
to
you,
know you
Rachel.
more and to hear your story. And for those of you listening, please go over to musicforthesoul.org. Check out all of the resources and, of course, all of the music that's available to you. Thank you, Steve.
God bless. Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody for tuning in and joining us today. Don't forget to visit rachelgrantcoaching.com to learn more about sexual abuse recovery coaching and explore the other resources available on the site. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a note and come back next time because we have so much more to share. And until then, take good care of you.